And as with all of our presentations here at Railroads University, it's so important that we begin with an acknowledgement of the traditional lands. We at Railroads University acknowledge that our campus is located on the traditional lands of the Quisepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families. It's with great gratitude that we live, learn, work, and play here where the past, present, and future scopes of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, staff, and faculty come together. This is a great time to test out that chat box function. If you feel comfortable, click on that chat box icon and let us know, where in the world are you joining us from today? If you're coming into our webinar with any burning questions, please pop them in the chat box as well. In just a slide or two, we'll pop into our chat box and get to know a little bit about everyone who's joining us today. To give you a better idea of who we are, we have this quick slide here. So my name is Selena Kunar, and I'm an education specialist here at Railroads, eager to help with today's presentation and help us all learn more about our graduate certificate in transforming child protection to well-being. And we're so lucky to have Dr. Kathleen Manion, the program head of this graduate certificate in transforming child protection to well-being, as well as the acting program head of our disaster and emergency management programs. Thanks for being here, Kathleen.
Thanks so much for having me, and it's so great to see everyone. So I look forward to chatting more, but I hand it back to you, Selena.
Thanks, Kathleen. So you've learned a little bit about us, and hopefully we can learn a little bit about all of you. So I'm going to open up my chat box and see a little bit about who's joining us today. Oh, we're so lucky to also have Rhonda White with us today from our enrollment advising team. You'll see Rhonda in the chat box popping in helpful links and answering questions all throughout our webinar today. We have Kara from Maple Creek, Saskatchewan. Maple Creek SK on Treaty 4 territory. We have Susan zooming in from the traditional unceded Lekwungen lands, home to the Esquimalt and Songhees people. Kristen joining from Lilwat Nation. We have folks joining us from all over today, which is so amazing. Please continue popping your introductions into the chat box, as it's so helpful to know who's in the room with us today to make sure that we're providing you with helpful information. So with that, we're going to cruise into a quick overview of the Railroads University experience, head into talking about this amazing program itself, capping off with providing some information around application and requirements, and of course, leaving time for questions and conversations. That said, as you have questions, pop them in the chat box because we'd be more than happy to answer them as we go through this session today. So on this slide is where we like to talk a little bit about the power of our place here at Railroads University. On this slide, you can see a few different highlights of our beautiful physical campus. So in the top photo, you can see Hatley Castle. That's probably the most well-known building on our campus. Its claim to fame being in films such as the X-Men, Deadpool, and a few Disney franchises as well. And past the castle there, you can see all of our academic buildings, which is so exciting to be able to have such a diversity of use of our lands here on our campus. Speaking to the diversity of land on our space here, we also have our variety of curated and curated gardens and wild space as well. So in this photo, you see our Japanese gardens, but we are located on over 500 acres of overgrowth forest. So there's many walking and hiking trails as well that are well used by the community. We're lucky to have a Esquimalt Lagoon at the base of our campus, which is a registered bird sanctuary, which keeps us busy with not only people, but a lot of wonderful critters as well. And then a photo here depicting online learning. So for over 25 years, Railroads has been a leader in blended learning, where we've brought together the best of an online learning environment with opportunities to still be face-to-face and engaging on our beautiful campus. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like in this program in a few slides. So we're so lucky that on this beautiful campus, learning truly is a way of life. We're proud of our positioning as a university for working professionals, as it means that, not only are we engaging in theory and hypothetical learning, but our students are bringing real world challenges and opportunities into our classrooms so we can engage in real world problem solving in real time. One of the most important ways we're able to do this is through our faculty and our professors who are leading our classrooms. So our professors are what we call scholar practitioners. So folks who are not only academic experts in their field, but who are out in the world putting into practice what they teach in our classrooms, which allows our learning to be rigorous, relevant, and applicable for our students. Inside our classrooms, you're going to find some other wonderful people who make up your cohort. Here at Railroads, almost all of our programs subscribe to the cohort learning model, which means you start your program with a carefully selected group of individuals and you move through together all the way to the end. In a few slides, when we get to our application and requirements portion of our presentation today, we'll be able to share a little bit about how we curate these cohort groups, where we're bringing together folks from unique backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences to ensure that your own experiences and perspectives are challenged and complemented throughout the program. So with that, I'm going to head over to the next slide and pass the baton to Kathleen to tell us more about this exciting graduate certificate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Selena. And I also just want to take a moment to acknowledge that I am also on the traditional lands of the Cosapsan and the Algonquin families and ancestors in what is called Victoria. And it is fantastic to be here and to really just look at the campus and pictures of the campus, particularly as spring is upon us here on the west coast of Canada. And so much is in bloom. It really is such a stunning campus, and we're so lucky to be able to have that on our doorstep. And I'm also very excited to talk about this program. It's been a long time in coming, and a dream of mine personally, but as well a dream of several other people who've come together to make this happen. So we have a bit of an unusual title for a graduate certificate in Transforming Child Protection to Wellbeing. It's quite a descriptive title because it does encapsulate what we're really trying to achieve with this program. And that's really about looking at what do we currently have in our child protection systems, both within the Canadian context, but also in the global South and internationally, and understanding what we have now and how can we build upon that and leverage what's working well to build something that's more focused on child well-being, and it's more holistic, it's more inclusive of systemic understanding of what it takes for a child to move into well-being. So we have suggested, as a group of people putting this together, that we're daring to imagine a different system that recognizes child well-being. And in doing that, we've looked at a range of different things. We've looked at how can we build upon the knowledge and information that we currently have. How can we put that into an educational structure that's really going to support the students? And we thought we would do that by looking at a range of different ways of learning. We really want to build on the heart, right? Of building on strengths-based and outcomes-based concepts of child well-being. People that come into the program and that are drawn to the program tend to navigate the world through a heart-based perspective. So that's really built into the core of the program. But we also want to get cerebral about this. We want to draw on critical perspectives of what's working in child protection and other child and family focused programming in education and health in a variety of different disciplines, and pull on what's working and what isn't, and what are some of the assumptions that are underlying the systems that we've built that we could look at transforming for the betterment of children, their families, and their communities. We want to build on the enormous theoretical and practical aspects of child protection, child and family welfare, what we know from child development across, again, a range of disciplines, and also the legalistic area of child rights. And through that, looking at all the tomes of material that are out there from research and theoretical framing to take and distill that and bring that into the classroom so that we can play with those ideas, but juxtapose it to the actual lived experiences of children and their families around the world, but also of practitioners who are working across a range of different systems, both within Canada and in the global south and other parts of the world, to really draw on their knowledge and expertise in the work that they've done, those practitioners, but also in partnership with children, young people, families, and communities. So we've really tried to build that into this graduate certificate. And an overarching perspective of the program is that it's built on systems perspectives of really looking at how we're weaving those different aspects together in a meaningful way. I think as social welfare processes have built up in a variety of different fields around the world, and certainly within Canada, we've become very good at very small segments of different policy avenues. And that has lost the systems approach. It's lost the way that different elements and disciplines work together to understand different avenues of social policy. So what we're hoping to do is really focus on a child at the center and focusing on what does it take to allow us to build child well-being and build systems that support child well-being. And just before I move on to the next slide, I do want to just recognize a few other people have put in their introductions. So also big welcome to Aram, who's coming to us from India with a background in disaster risk reduction, which is fantastic to see. And Anna coming from the Sealik Okanagan people here in British Columbia, and Talia, it's very nice to see you, Talia, who's joining us from Portugal. So in looking at the program and what we're trying to do here, we're drawing on a range of experiences across different organizations. So we at Royal Roads, as Selena so beautifully phrased, have a lot of experience in delivering blended learning. We also have a lot of experience in working in interdisciplinary areas and in social and applied research. These are some of the expertise that we have as a university and providing I think, quite holistic and meaningful, engaged learning experiences. But we also wanted to draw on the expertise of those that are working in the field. So at Royal Roads, we privilege scholar practitioners, but we wanted to take that a step further, and we have done this with the support and help and partnership of two leading international organizations working with child protection and child well-being. So the International Institute for Child Rights and Development works across a range of different countries. It is based here in Canada, but has a range of different people that support its work, and they bring their particular expertise in participatory and arts-based approaches of working with children and really focusing on an intergenerational approach to child rights and development. And we also bring Child Frontiers in as a group of people who've really pushed a lot of policy fronts in a range of different countries, again focused mainly on the global south. So together, these three organizations have come together to build this program, but also to deliver it. So this gives us the ability to draw on the expertise, the academic expertise that we have at the university, but also the practitioner expertise that we have across these three institutions. And not sure how to pronounce this, but Titilope from Nigeria has also joined us, and it's fantastic to have you here too. And apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. So going back to the program and what we're trying to do, in building the learning outcomes framework, we wanted to draw on leading expertise in the area of engaged learning. So we drew on the UNESCO framework, and the UNESCO framework has moved on a little bit, but really love the engaged aspect of looking at the different kinds of outcomes that we want to work towards at the end of the program on these 5 domains. So learning to know, and we really explore that, looking at how do you bring in those theoretical concepts and knowledge and child well-being and weave them with the concept of learning to do. So it's great to have that theoretical knowledge, but what do you do with it? How do you embed that into day-to-day practice? So we build that into really focused on research, focused on effective communication and working with children, young people, families, and communities. And it's not just about what you're knowing or doing, but it's also about who you are. So I think across all of Royal Road's programs, we really do focus on you in the system. How do you connect to the system that you're actually in? So there's a lot of work to do around self-awareness, your role in a system, how you build collaboration and connection in your communities, and what gifts do you bring to a space, and what areas do you need to work upon? So we do really focus on that kind of self-awareness. And in that sense, I also love the idea of learning to live together. So understanding self and system is about how you're actually engaging with others. So again, one of our well-known programs is leadership at Royal Road. So again, bringing in a lot of the thought leadership that we have here on leadership, and collaborative leadership in particular, is woven again into the program. We also look at how we're working across cultures and how we can build on diversity, but also ensure inclusion and explore concepts of interdependency. We also look at the next stage of that, almost, of learning to transform self and society. So looking at self in system and the system as a whole, understanding systems thinking, understanding how to understand a system and where you might leverage change, building inquiry processes into place to explore with children, young people, families, and communities how you can go about making positive change and bringing to the fore concepts of creativity. And looking at the program structure, that's a whole lot of stuff that we're trying to do. I have just articulated, but this is a graduate certificate. It's a 9-month-long program. There are 3 courses in the program at the master's level, no, at the graduate level, sorry, starting with a foundation course, which is focused on looking at definitions. As good academics, that's how we start. We look at lots of definitions. What do we actually mean by child protection? What do we mean by child well-being? And explore what that means in different contexts and across different disciplines, so that we can start to weave together, but also unpack some of the assumptions that we have across a range of different programs and practices that we see in Canada and in the wider world. This course is a 10-week-long course. It is fully online, and it sets the foundation for the subsequent 2 courses. In this course, students who are joining us will be joined by other students from across the university, which makes for a really rich and engaging conversations. In order to come into the program, or into the course, people need to have some affiliation with children's rights, children's development, child protection, or child well-being. But once in there, we'll often find that students are coming with very, very diverse backgrounds, but that really makes for engaged conversations. And Selena did mention that at the beginning, that is something we like to do at Royal Roads. We do like to work with team-based and cohort-based learning to recognize that whoever's standing at the front of the room is bringing their knowledge and expertise, but it's really the collective that is learning together. And it's with that diversity of perspectives, diversity of understandings, that we can grow collectively. So from there, we move into the second course in the program, which takes some of the policy foundations and some of the definitional foundations we started with in the first course, and then move it into practice. Like, what are we seeing in practice? How are we taking these big, meaty concepts, and what are we seeing in practice? How are they woven through different practice in different settings. So we're drawing on case studies in this one for promoting child well-being, both in Canada, particularly looking at Indigenous ways of knowing and being, and the ways in which we are grappling with decolonizing within the Canadian context. We also build on studies that are coming from the global South, so that we're exploring what does it mean to build and promote child well-being in a range of different contexts. This course is also 10 weeks long and is online. The third course in the program is meant to build on the other two. We started with policy and definitions and a general framework. We moved into practice. What does that look like in practice? And we get really practical in this third course, 504, where we're looking at tools and approaches. So we're sharing a range of different approaches that are looking at applied research and evaluation, but also in policy development. So we're putting them into practice within the classroom and applying it to a range, again, of different settings. This course has the ability to be either online or blended, and at this very moment students are taking this course and are about to start their virtual residency next week. That one will be online. Next year we are hoping, assuming things are good with COVID, that this will be a blended program, which means most of the course will be online, but we will have 1 week which will be in person. So you'll come to Victoria for this particular course for 1 week to take this course. We have 2 non-credit courses that also support your learning, and they start the program off. So before you even get into the foundations course, we have Introduction to Academic Integrity. If it's been a while since you've been in academia, or if you are coming in without academic background, this is really going to support you to give you a sense of what it is to write within the academic institution. So that's a really great introduction back into campus life. The other course is Foundations for Success. So this is a really short course, but this is an opportunity to introduce you to Royal Roads and our model of learning and teaching, to introduce you to teamwork and how we can do that successfully. And it's a way to start to build the relationships amongst the students within the cohort. So that's just a short non-credit course, but hopefully one that is meaningful. Whew, and that's a lot to say. And when thinking about who would benefit from the program, there's a range of people who would benefit from the program. We're really focused on people who have an interest in moving into different elements of working with children, young people and their families. So we can imagine that people working within child protection, either within Canada or internationally, or who are working in child and family welfare or working within children's rights, are obviously going to be drawn to this. But we are also looking at people who are based in healthcare but focused on children, those who are working in education, those are even working in financing, working for not-for-profit organizations, who are working maybe in conflict resolution but focused on children. There's a range of different professionals that could bring their knowledge into this space but also gain from it moving forward. Originally, we had really focused on, or thought about focusing this on, the international community, but we're actually seeing there's quite a bit of interest nationally within Canada, and it's from students' perspective, what we're hearing is that really enjoying, whether they're coming from the Canadian context or they're coming from the international context, listening to the dialogue across those cultures, particularly learning about what's happening in large INGOs, and learning about what's happening in local communities here, particularly Indigenous communities, as we grapple with, as I say, concepts of decolonization. So a lot of exchange happening there. So we can imagine not-for-profit workers, United Nations staff, people working in policy. We would lot to build on here. Frontline workers, social workers, child rights advocates, government employees, researchers and youth care workers would all benefit from this program. And I think I pass it at that point back to Selena.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. You had a short amount of time to speak about such an impactful program. So thank you for running that sprint with us. We will now head into talking about the application requirements, but know that we're just around the corner from an opportunity to get some of your questions answered. So if anything came up for you when you heard Kathleen talking about this program, who it's for, what it's about, how it's delivered, please pop those in the chat box and we'll move through those together in just a few short minutes. To begin, we'll talk about admissions here at Royal Roads University. So we offer both standard and flexible admissions. So standard admissions would look for applicants who have a 4-year or comparable undergraduate degree with a minimum GPA of a B+ from a recognized post-secondary institution, as well as at least 2 years of relevant work in some capacity with children, preferably at the leadership or management level. And then as part of the application process, we also require a personal statement. So a personal statement addressing how you consider your academic education to be relevant and related to this program. So that's what we look for a standard admission applicant. But at Royal Roads, hopefully we've communicated that it's not only the academic part of your experience you're interested in, but we're also interested in learning about you as a professional, as a person, all of the different things that come together to have made you who you are and all the different things you've experienced to get there. So for folks who may not have a traditional academic background, you can still be considered as an applicant in this program through flexible admissions. So for example, if you find yourself meeting the degree requirement, but not the GPA requirement, you'll be required to have a minimum of 5 years of relevant professional experience. If you find yourself not meeting the undergraduate degree requirement, then you'll normally require 10 years of work experience with a minimum of 2 years of relevant professional experience in a leadership or management position or an equivalent combination of education and experience. Again, in your personal statement, we'll look for thoughts around how your work experience has met the requirements of this program. And for those folks who are joining us under flexible admissions, or those folks who might be a bit further away from their last academic experience, we offer our academic writing and critical thinking course here on our campus. And for those folks coming under flexible admissions, we'd require you to obtain a minimum of a B+ in that course before starting this program. And this course is well loved on our campus with many of our programs, including this as a requirement. So that said, it is offered at least every month, if not a few times a month sometimes. But this course really allows you to understand academic writing, critical thinking, what is citation, how do you structure a paper, to ensure that once you start the program, those details aren't what you're trying to figure out, that you're starting the program at the same place from a critical writing and thinking place as the rest of your cohort, and you're able to dive right into the content and into the learning. So if you have any questions about that course, you can always connect with us. Or if you have any questions about what flexible admissions could mean for you, flexible admissions is something that's assessed on a case-by-case basis. So if when we were reading those standard admission requirements, you thought, okay, maybe not me, but you know this program is for you, please connect with our offices, as we're always happy to help chat through professional, personal, and academic experience to understand how flexible admissions could be a helpful way to gain entry into this program. So upcoming intakes, we're so excited that we're not too far away from the next intake of this wonderful program. So we will begin September 26th, 2022, putting the application deadline at June 26th, 2022. So when we say application deadline, What are we looking for? Well, as with most things these days, we kick off with an online application. And right now, that online application includes a fee of $128.81. So once that online application is in, we then look towards your supporting documents. So we'll be interested in your official transcripts, personal statement, structured resume, and 2 letters of reference. Our website is a wonderful resource to use when putting together these documents because it has information around, what questions should I be answering in my personal statement? How should my resume be structured? But also, how long should my personal statement be? How do my referees get their letter to your offices? How do I obtain official transcripts and ensure they remain official when they get to Royal Roads University? Of course, while our website is always there with handy tips and tricks, our teams are here as well. So you can always connect with us and we'd be happy to help you navigate the process of putting together your supporting documents. This is a great time for me to mention that at Royal Roads, we accept applications on an ongoing basis. So we're not actually going to wait until June 26th and take a look at all the applications that have come in and then let you know about your seat. Instead, once your online application is in and your supporting documents as well, we're able to adjudicate your file and let you know about your seat in the program. So this is really important to know if you think, yeah, September 26, 2022, I want to start this program. Get your online application in as it lets us know who's interested and how many seats in the program we need to make sure we're able to accommodate all of you wonderful folks who are eager to participate. We always get wonderful questions around financial aid, and as we should. Financial planning is such a critical component to continued education. So we wanted to make sure that right off the top, you had the website and direct phone lines of our Financial Aid and Awards office. This office is staffed with specialists who have their fingertips on resources that are available internally here at Royal Roads, but also externally as well to help fund your education. They can help answer questions around loans, awards, scholarships, or any other types of funding as well. So please, if you have any questions or you're just curious about what different modes of aid might be available to you, please connect. And throughout our presentation today, I keep alluding to connect with our offices. Well, here are our offices. Rhonda is just one beautiful example of the team here at Royal Roads who are eager to help answer any questions you might have about this program or any others on our campus as well. So if you're a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, landed immigrant, or refugee, you can connect with Rhonda and her team at learn.more@royalroads.ca. And for our international citizens and temporary residents, you can connect with Rhonda's counterparts in our international enrollment office at learn.more.international@royalroads.ca. Or you can connect on WhatsApp as well. So we have a little QR code here, so you can swipe your phone and scan and get connected immediately. So with that, we have come to the end of our formal presentation today. I have a few red alerts by my chat box. So I'm thinking there's some fun that's happened there. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open up that chat box. So in our chat box, we've had Rhonda share some wonderful links around the intake dates, as well as the program schedule, if you're interested at the dates that correspond with our courses, the course descriptions themselves. Oh, and in the program schedules, Wanda notes that the on-campus dates are included as well. So for those folks who are interested in understanding when that 1 week on campus would fall, you can pop into that program schedule and the date is in there. Rhonda has linked to our admission requirements on our website, as well as a link to the RU writing course. Another link for the application requirements themselves. And Rhonda sharing that we encourage people to contact them specifically to discuss application and your background in relation to the admission requirements. So you can contact Rhonda directly at rhonda.white@rollroads.ca, learn.more@rollroads.ca, or you can actually book a Zoom or phone meeting directly through our booking system. So we'll be sure to include that link in our follow-up communications. Rhonda has also shared a wonderful link to the Financial Aid and Awards Office blog that's been really helpful for our prospective students. So Allison asked a question, is there a potential for the credit courses to transfer or apply to another master's program at RRU? Absolutely. Kathleen, did you want to answer that question?
Sure, yes. And Anna's question afterwards, what programs would that bridge to? So that depends on the program. Each program is a little bit different, but yes, absolutely, depending on the program. So the MBA program, which is a curious mixture, but it can work. It can be quite an interesting one. But tourism is also one. Leadership is potentially one that you could look at, the master's in leadership or master's in global leadership. And again, things are shifting a little bit, but so you might want to reach out specifically if you have those questions. Within the School of Humanitarian Studies, where the program is actually located, there are also some ways you can transfer some of the courses in. So you can definitely take one or two courses. And we are having conversations about whether you could take the full program as part of either the MA in Justice Studies, the MA in Conflict Analysis and Management, the MA in Human Security and Peace Building, or the MA in Disaster and Emergency Management. Those conversations are ongoing, but at the moment, definitely you can take some of the courses as part of the master's degree. In addition, though it won't be available for next year, we are in talks to develop this program itself into a full master's degree. So that hopefully, fingers crossed and all things going well, will be on the agenda in several years.
Amazing. Thanks, Kathleen. And I was just typing quickly into the chat box. We had a question around, could you please give estimate of total program fees? So I've just shared in the chat box a link where you can always keep up to date with the tuition fees of any of our programs here at Rural Roads, but sharing that this graduate certificate for our domestic prospective students is around $6,000, and for international around $8,000. But if you have more questions as how that fee is paid, whether that's in installments or one chunk, connect with our offices, as we're always able to help answer those kind of questions as well. Kathleen, a question I get a lot, which, I know it's so hard to answer, but people are wondering, how much time should I be setting aside if I'm working full time? Perhaps I have a family, other commitments. What does that look like if I was to participate in this program as well?
That's a great question. And of course, it depends. It depends on how efficient you are. But in general, we would say for any 3-credit course, for each credit you're doing, you're looking at 33 hours of student effort. And that tends to be a little bit on the minimum. So for 3 credits, you're looking at 99 hours of students' effort. So that's going to include any live sessions you have, the reading you need to do, the assignments you need to do, and the engagement that you have within the course. As a 10-week course, that's 9, 10, 11 hours a week. Is usually enough. There might be weeks that are a little bit heavier and weeks that are a little bit lighter. During the actual 1 week on campus, it's a little bit more intense, but that is made up for by the fact that the weeks on either end that are online are a little bit lighter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathleen. We had one more question around how many semesters is this course? So Rural Roads doesn't operate on that traditional semestered system. Would you be able to share a little bit more about that?
Sure. So yeah, as Selena said, we don't have semesters per se. So we do have rolling intakes, but also rolling courses. So this is just 3 courses. You take one at a time. They're 10 weeks with a little break in between, and then you just move into the next one. So in sequence. With the first 2 non-credit courses are 2 weeks long, just at the very start of the program. And they take far fewer hours, I should also say.
Thanks, Kathleen. That is wonderful. And I think that has actually brought us to the end of our questions for today. So I'll wait just a few extra seconds before we potentially close out for today. But Kathleen, was there anything else you wanted to share about this program for folks who are joining us today?
I think one other question that I often get across all kinds of different programs is, what does that look like? Is there weekly classes? So that's useful for anyone looking at one of the other MA programs, but also this program and the way that we function for online learning. We don't tend to have a weekly class. Instead, we will have a week's worth of work, which is mainly organized so that you can do it in your own time. There might be, for instance, there might be a request to have some forums done by midweek so that people can engage in their own time through the rest of the week. And then we will have dotted throughout live sessions. Largely, those will be set up to try and ensure that we can match the different time zones of students that are in the program. So those will be arranged afterwards. And there are usually only a few of those. So it gives maximum flexibility for people joining from a range of time zones, but also a different working arrangements. It should also be noted that Royal Roads University was set up specifically for working professionals. So a lot of the way we have built our programs is with that in mind. Which classes do I teach? At the moment, I am teaching the first non-credit course, but I'm not teaching the other 3 courses at the moment. I just pop into the different courses. Thanks for the question, though.
Awesome. Thank you so much for highlighting that, Kathleen. I have other questions around what courses Kathleen teaches. She is a superstar on campus. So thanks so much for being here, Kathleen. Thank you everyone for being here and chatting with us today about this exciting graduate certificate. We'll be sure to get the recording of today's session shared in the next day or so. So please, if any questions emerge, as time goes on, we are always here to continue the conversation. We've actually just wrapped up a very exciting webinar series on children's right to a healthy environment. So I'll be sure to actually include those links as well to get a bit of a taste of some of the conversations or areas of interest we explore within the program as well. So with that, we wish you all a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world you're joining us today or where in the world you're watching this recording as well. Bye-bye, everyone.
So much. Goodbye.